I am a child.
Guild Wars 2 is 14 years old, so why are thousands of players still logging in every day? I've played nearly every major MMO in my lifetime, and I consider myself someone who understands quite a bit about what makes a game fun and what doesn't. And if you're thinking about starting Guild Wars 2 in 2026, I'm going to give you the honest truth. In this video, I'll break down the player base, the end game, the expansions, the combat, and whether it's actually worth your time today. Guild Wars 2 was released on August 28th, 2012. It is a very, very old game, but it is still being actively developed to this day. They have quite a few expansions. They have 5 in total. They have Path of Fire and Heart of Thorns, which are actually comboed together whenever you go to purchase them. There is End of Dragons, Secrets of the Obscure, and the newest one that came out, Janthir Wilds. Now, in between all of these expansions, they have something called Living Story, which is essentially DLC content, which is a series of episodic story driven content that bridges the gap between all of the expansions. All of them are really fun, kind of gives you a little bit of the story, gives you rewards, but it's a good way to just enjoy the game and learn more about the fantastic story that Guild Wars has to offer. Now, in terms of the player population, it is still very active to this day. I just played just the other day and I visited a world boss that my friends were just wanting to go. He said, "Hey, there's actually a world boss coming up here soon. It's in so and so place. Let's go there." And me and my friend said, "Okay." We went there and there were tons of people there. It was actually crazy. There were so many people that all of our computers were starting to kind of bog down. And we don't have the best computers, but we're able to still play the game. But it was crazy to see just how many people would just be in one small area of the game. And not everyone does these world bosses. So there are still tons of players. And I always find people all of the time in zones or maps, doesn't matter where. I'll always find handfuls of people in places I never even expect them to be. So the world feels very much alive no matter wherever you are, whether it's old content or new content, whether it's in a very obscure part of the map or the most common part of the map, whether it's major cities or even underwater. Now, I'd also like to point out how great the community is itself. The population of Guild Wars 2 is typically a very nice player base, but at the same time, they also don't like to take any shit. A perfect example of how kind of great this community is me and my friend was just sitting inside a Lion's Arch after my other friend got off, and we were kind of winding down for the night, and we were just sitting in front of this one person, and we were just doing a bunch of stupid stuff, like showing off all of these cool things that we have, and the other person decided to just join in and just started showing off too. And then one other person joined. Next thing we know, we're ended up sitting there talking and literally say chat of just everyone can see everything that we're typing, and we're just having a blast. And next thing we know, one person invited us into their home. There's homestead, so you can create your own home. And we ended up going there. We ended up visiting it. It was a very gothic style mansion that they ended up creating with like skulls and bones and a mansion. It all was all gloomy and stuff, and you could have their other characters in there, and all their other characters fit the same aesthetic, and it was really cool to see. And we were just walking around their home, looking at all the stuff, sitting there talking in chat, just having a good time. It was a really wholesome experience, and this all just happened from my me and my friend just goofing around. And another person decided to join in, and then another person decided to join in. It was awesome. It was just the four of us messing around whenever me and my friend were just winding down for the day. The community is great in that regard. There are also other systems inside the games like Raid Finder and quick play versions, and they take a very short amount of time to get in. Honestly, it takes about 10 to 15 seconds. And on top of that, that's just quick play. You can find other raids which are a lot more difficult. The quick play feature kind of makes it a little easier to introduce you to it, and then you can get into a group and it takes seconds to get in. On top of that, there's a PvP section that takes almost the same amount of time to also queue up and get into World v World, where it's literally just a giant open landscape and everyone's battling for bases and everything like that. That takes minimal time to get in. And that's only the tip of the iceberg of systems whenever you are talking about this game. And I mentioned PvP. The thing is, it is a completely different system inside of Guild Wars 2. In Guild Wars 2, you have your PvE content, your overworld content of what I'd like to say, in which you are upgrading your gear, you're trying to do raids, you're trying to maximize your potential. That is your PvE. Whenever you go to PvP, you get a whole different set of gear in which all the gear is set to a baseline stat. So you could create a level 1 character, run into PvP, and you could do and have the same amount of stats than everyone else does. They're not trying to gatekeep you from playing PvP whatsoever. So you can just jump right in head first and just play PvP. In fact, I've talked to very many people. They don't even play PvE. All they do is play PvP, whether it's World v World or just a regular structured player versus player. Now, moving on to the combat and gameplay of Guild Wars 2 and why it just feels good. It is an action oriented combat, which means you are constantly on the move. You are never staying in one place for long. Your actions per minute are going to be quite high because you are always pressing abilities. There is a dodge function inside of this game, which you will be using very heavily because that is how you are going to avoid taking a lot of your damage or even a lot of things that are going to one shot you. On top of that, the build diversity for this game is absolutely insane. You can basically play one character your entire time if you end up falling in love with them. You will never have to play anything else because characters can heal you or heal other people. You can build a tank so that can take a lot of damage, or you could just flat out build damage. And there's so many different ways to do it. And every class has so many different types of weapons that you can use. You can be a caster using a sword or even a shield or a mace. You can do so many unique things in this game. So you are not bogged down to, oh, I'm a mage like in WoW. I'm a mage. I can only cast things from far away, and if they get close, I'm screwed. That's not the Guild Wars 2 way. You can pretty much do anything you want with one character. My one friend, she literally has played this game all the time and has pretty much never stopped. And she probably has 90% of her hours played on her ranger character. So you can sit there and play one character for almost forever and never get tired of them if that's how you want to play. Of course, you can always just make other people to play, try them out. I have at least 3 people that I rotate through, but I always come back to my Revenant class. It is my favorite one, and right now I cannot seem to get off of them. Now, since there is such a big build diversity, that means there is no strict holy trinity, as they like to say, of tank, healer, and damage. Because you're not going to be stuck playing a warrior and be like, oh, well, I can't heal. I'm a warrior. No, there is a system for warriors called the shout system. And what that can do is you can allow yourself to buff and even heal your allies. You can play a healer as a warrior. You are not pigeonholed into just playing one style. You are able to leap and jump to anything that you feel like you want to do. People sit there and swap their builds on the fly to be like, oh, we need more damage. I want to boost my buffs that I give to everyone and make them last longer. You're able to do that, or you can just be super tanky or just do a lot of damage. You could do whatever you really desire based on how you want to build. Now, when you are playing Guild Wars 2, there is a max level, and of course, that is still the first thing that you are going to want to do unless you are playing PvP and that is the only thing you care about. You want to play PvP, you can jump right in, have fun. But for PvE aspects, if you want to play, your main goal is going to be hitting max level. But then once you hit max level, Guild Wars 2 prides itself in its horizontal progression, which means as soon as you hit max level, if you want to sit there and go do dungeons and raids, go ahead. You can do that. If you want to go achievement hunting, sure, go do that. If you want to max out your crafting and do all that, go ahead. The thing is, there's nothing past that max level for you to pursue. So you've reached the end game. You can obviously follow the story and everything like that. You're going to get loot. You're going to get all this other stuff. You're going to unlock things. You're going to get your achievement points, whichever you want to do. But the gear hits a max that you can reach. And to get that max gear, you're going to have to really grind to get what is called ascended gear. That takes some time, but you don't have to focus on that. Once you hit your max level, most of your gear will be fine until you get that super high level gear. And honestly, it's not easy, but you don't have to focus on that. The horizontal progression allows you to literally jump like you're playing hopscotch. You can go from one to another to another to another. You can just do whatever you want. I've been doing achievements. I've been farming for mounts myself. But the thing is, with the horizontal progression, you can always jump back into any of those things that you were doing earlier, like it was a snap of the fingers. Nothing is stopping you from doing one thing or the other. Nothing is going to slow you down except for your own decision of, hey, what do I want to do today? That is the only thing that is really going to stop you. And there's a lot of people that want to focus on the raids, sure. There's a lot of people who want to go to their home, make their home look beautiful, grind that out because to build out your home, you're going to need a lot of money in order to get everything that you may possibly want. So you grind some money and then you use that money to make your house look cool, or you can cr- build a bunch of things with like crafting. The possibilities are truly endless, and Guild Wars 2 gives you so many pathways that you can take that interests you, and you just follow that. That's the great thing that Guild Wars 2 really allows you to do with all these horizontal progressions for the gameplay. It leads you to do whatever you feel like doing, and if you didn't feel like doing that now, maybe you'll feel like doing it later, and you can always come back to it. It'll be waiting for you whenever you would like. Now, moving on to the content and the end game. I mentioned some of this before and earlier. There are open world meta events. I mentioned earlier about how my friend wanted to go see a world boss. That is a meta event. You can go do stuff like that. There are also specific maps where there are events happening almost all the time. Some of the maps reset after completing an entire event for the map. And it's honestly a very cool experience to be part of. I ended up being up north in one of the maps and I just was questing, doing my story, and the world event was just happening. The whole meta event, the map event going on, and I was like, hey, to my friend, let's go. Let's just go see what it's about. Why not? Went up there and I was blown away. It was just an amazing thing, and they did a really good job with a bunch of the newest events to really make them seem like they are fun, and it's a great experience. There are also fractals. It's kind of an end game dungeon in a way, and they progressively get harder as you go on, they have levels to them. So as you're doing them, you're gonna need to get specific gear or specific adjustments that can just go on top of your gear. No harm, no foul. It's not like you're like, oh, I need to get a whole new piece of gear. No, that's not how it works. They give you something called agony resistance. And as these fractals get harder, you can just sit there and do them and they'll be easier. On top of that, there are raids. I mentioned those slightly earlier. Raids, just how you imagine, they are just a lot harder dungeons to do, and they tell a bit of the story of what is going on, in which fractals are kind of like past events in which you are kind of learning, but raids are like here and now. Then there is obviously PvP, and then there is World v World. So the question is there enough to do in the long term? The answer to that, in my opinion, is yes. There is a lot to do once you hit max level. Like I said, with the horizontal progression, you can pretty much pick and choose what you want to do, and you can have a blast doing it. There are so many different things that you can really open your eyes and just spend hours doing. And I mean hours. So, yes, there is plenty of things, in my opinion, to do in the long term, depending on which route you want to go down. And if you didn't want to go down that route before, you might want to go down it later. So, there is plenty of stuff to do. In terms of the monetization of this game, it is a buy to play model. The base game is actually free, so you can jump in right now and just see what it's about. No harm, no foul. But you can play the game whenever you want. There is no subscription fee. The only thing that they really have that will make you want to pay for things are small quality of life purchases and cosmetics. That's really the only thing. And yeah, you're gonna sit there, you're gonna see all these people with all these cool things, you're gonna be like, I want that. Or whenever it comes to your pickaxes or your axes for cutting down woods and gathering materials, you're going to sit there and you're going to get tired of buying new ones. Well, they make ones that never break, and you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, man, maybe I should get one of those. Small quality of life things, but nothing is incentivizing you of, oh, hey, you need to spend money on this game. You don't. You don't. The base game is free. You can sit there, try it, play it, and if you ever want anything crazy or like you want to look cool or sit there and buy this wedding outfit because you want to look like a princess or a bride or even a groom, you can do that if you want. Like it's all just cosmetic things or quality of life purchases, so you really don't have to spend any money if you don't have to. So who will love it and who won't? You'll love Guild Wars 2 if you hate the idea of constantly grinding for new gear. If you get your gear, you're basically just set for a very long time. Unless you want to try out a completely different build, then you might need some different gear with different stats. But that's really it. You're not sitting there like in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy trying to get the most amazing gear sets as you can imagine. No, you're not, it's not like that. Once you get to your max level, you pretty much get your gear from the get go of, oh, hey, I need this or I need that. Once you get your exotics, you will be fine. And obviously, there is a step up from that, but it's not super important. If you like exploring and exploration, this is definitely a game for you. That each zone is slightly different. Each one's got its own fantasy world built into it. And Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet have spent a lot of time meticulously crafting a story in each area in which feels like its very own spot. You'll also love Guild Wars 2 if you enjoy not being pigeonholed into just like, hey, I'm gonna play a frost mage or I'm a tank. I just that's all I can do. No, you have the ability to kind of experiment and do what you want. You'll love Guild Wars 2 in that regard. And you will also like it over the fact that there is no subscription. You can re-download the game whenever you want and pick it up like you never stopped. I didn't play Guild Wars 2 for almost a decade, half a decade, whatever it may be, whenever I quit. But I got back on and I picked up where I left off without even being like, oh man, I gotta spend $10 to $15 to play this again. Man, that stinks. Don't have to do that. You can literally just re-download it and you're back to where you left off. Now, you won't like this game if you are wanting a strict progression system of go to A, go to B, go to C, and you'll get to D. That's not how Guild Wars 2 works. You kind of have to make your own progression system. You might log in, create like a little list of things of like, okay, I want to do this. I want to get this achievement because it gives me this reward. And then I also want to sit there and I want to work towards getting my mount. And then on top of that, maybe I want to do some dungeons or maybe I want to do some raids. Maybe I want to do some PvP. You create your own progression line of what you want to do. It's like waking up in the morning and being like, I want to go to the grocery store. And then after that, I want to go to the car wash. You are creating your own plans as you play the game. That is how this game works. So if you want that strict progression, this isn't the game for you. Now, Guild Wars 2 does have a very good story, but it is nothing like you would expect from Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is very narrative focused. They are constantly putting you into some dialogue and some cutscenes, and it is the main focus of like what is really happening in the world. Guild Wars 2 does have its own story. It is very narrative focused as well, but it is not in your face as Final Fantasy is. There's a bunch of stuff that you might, if you want to sit there and look more into it, you might have to look up on like the Wikipedia page of who said person is or something like that because they're not going to sit there and just throw everything into your face. There are characters that might show up earlier and then this happens and then this happens and then they show up later and there's a little story that happened between there. There's a lot of story and the story is good inside of Guild Wars 2, but it's not so in your face. You could ignore the story if you really wanted to. It's not going to stop you, but the story is good. I can assure you of that. Is Guild Wars 2 worth playing in 2026? Yes. To me, it is worth playing. Not only is it the fact that you can pick up and play it whenever you want, but the range of activities that you can do, the community will be happy to help you out, and the fact that you can just make friends along the way, it is honestly a great experience. There are pros and there are cons, and I have pointed them out within this video, but for the casual gamer, I'd say it's a solid 9 out of 10. It's great. The game looks great. You can pick it up, play it whenever you want. You only got a couple hours a day to play. Make a goal. Be like, I would like to do this. I'd like to do that. For the hardcore grinders, I'd maybe give it a 6.5. There's still a lot to do. It's going to require a lot more effort to do that hardcore grinding. It might wear you out. Depends on the type of player that you are and how dedicated of a grinder you can be. But for grinders, it can really help you out as there are still a lot of things that you can grind in the game. For PvP, it all really depends because each person looks for something different in PvP, but it is still a satisfying feeling going into a large group in World v World and you're just having these giant mock battles between everyone. It's a great feeling there. With the structured PvP, it feels great. You're sitting there working as a team, fighting someone. You're trying to outwit them and outfight them. It's also really good, but it is a different fighting style. So PvP, I can't really give you a rating on how good or bad it is, but that is going to be up to you. You can jump in level 1 and see how you feel about it. If you're starting fresh in 2026, this might actually be the best time to jump in. There is loads of content for you to sit there and enjoy. It's not like this game just came out. The game has been out for at least 13 years. There's so much for you to do and for you to find your own nook and cranny of what you like in the game. It's the best time for you to play, and there's no reason for you to at least give it a shot with it being free.
Heroes now.